So today's Monday, and we had another excellent presentation from Riley and Dr. Dennis O'Grady. And today they introduced us to a bunch of things that I'm going to share throughout the week. But specifically today, they introduced us this idea of communication styles that relates to empathizers and instigators. I got a couple quick notes I'm going to glance down at. But today, Monday, I want to just talk about empathizers. But I think my default is an instigator, as my sisters used to say. Jerry, you just stir the pot. You're an instigator. And when I was a kid and as a 56-year-old. So, however, I think over time, as you're older, as we're talking to leaders and owners, many of us have learned how to be empathetic in certain areas. But let me just give you today a couple things to be thinking about as it relates to empathizers. So empathizers are typically more sensitive, and I think it's one of the things I was talking to Dennis and Riley about is like, you know, I think sometimes when you think of like a leader, especially a dude in the residential trades, might think that's weak to be somebody that's more sensitive. But in the context that we're talking about, it's like the sensitivity is a super strength, right? It's a superpower. Empathizers tend to pick up the moods of others, right? So empathizers, when you're around empathizers, they can tell if somebody's, you know, in a great mood or in a bad mood. I talked to Mark Schulte, one of my leaders, and he has the ability to not only pay attention to the room and how people are doing, but he has the ability to change that temperature in the room, right? So he's a thermostat, not a thermometer type thing, right? And so he's a mood changer. Empathizers shy away from unnecessary conflict, right? So sometimes empathizers might look at something and it'll be like, which my staff is tons of empathizers. It's like, I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to stir the pot. Empathizers think a lot before they speak. My son does this, Dakota, right? He's an empathizer, and he'll think, and I'm be like, okay, how much time do you need to think about it? The negative side of that is maybe they think process too long, but one of the beauties of empathizers is they actually think. Dakota won't answer you quick. If you ask him a question, a thoughtful question, he'll tell you that he needs some time to think about it, which I really have grown to respect in him. Empathizers tend to be self-critical. So empathizers probably, maybe as a default, might be more self-critical than an instigator, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Empathizers can be talked out of their opinions and truths. So sometimes instigators will overpower them, right? And they have opinions, and then maybe a less mature empathizer could get quickly talked out of their opinions. And lastly, for today, empathizers are slow to give feedback. Again, likely because they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But you know, me as a 56-year-old, I'm an instigator, but I've learned how to navigate when I am the best version of myself communicating. I actually embrace some of these empathizer characteristics, and I think that's what's really important, is for us to be aware and be open to. What I need to be open to is more. I probably need to lean into more empathizer, and I probably need, which I'll talk about Tuesday, is I probably need to pull back from more the instigator. So really interesting communication. And you know, when you look at it from a leadership standpoint, in your business or in your personal life, right, in relationships, this training on communication is very timely for us as our organization is going through substantial growth and development. You know, communication is really critical for us to embrace. So anyway, very insightful, very interesting insight today. Thank you, Riley and Dennis, for a very well done presentation and great insight on being an empathizer.